He said I was paranoid, but someone is definitely watching me. It started about 3 weeks ago. At first, I thought I was imagining it, just a fleeting suspicion that disappeared as quickly as it had appeared. But then it happened again, and again. And after a while, I couldn't pretend anymore. Every morning, around 7:30, I go out to get the mail or take out the trash. Same old routine, same sleepy street in Brentwood, just outside Nashville. But parked at the end of the street, right next to the stop sign, is a gray SUV. Always the same model. Always tinted windows, engine running. The first few times, I barely noticed. Maybe someone was waiting to pick someone up, a new neighbor. No big deal. But I don't feel like it's a big deal. It feels like it was intentional. One morning, I tried something else. I walked out a few minutes early, 6:55. No car. At exactly 7:28, it arrived. Parked, sat, no one got out, no one got in, and then, at 7:45, it slowly drove away, unhurried, as if it had gotten what it needed. Of course, Rachel didn't believe me. "That's creepy," she said, not looking up from her phone. "But it's probably just a neighbor's guest. You're always so uptight about things like this." She smiled like it was a joke, but I knew that smile. I'd been married to her for 11 years. That smile meant fuck off. So I did, outside. Inside, I began to look more closely. I checked the security camera footage, but the car was always parked outside the motion sensor range. Smart. Too smart to be a coincidence. The following Thursday, while I was walking my dog, Bailey, I passed the SUV and pretended to stop and tie my shoelaces. I caught a glimpse of the driver through the windshield. A man probably in his late 30s, with a goatee, a black hat, dark sunglasses. He had a coffee mug in one hand and a phone in the other. But he wasn't texting. "He is filming." I turned around quickly and continued walking. That night, I lay in bed next to Rachel, staring at the ceiling. She scrolled through her phone, smiled at something on Instagram, then rolled over without saying goodbye. I listened to the tapping of her fingernails on the screen and wondered if she noticed the man, if she saw the SUV, if she knew more than she was letting on. But I didn't ask. Not yet. 2 days later, I saw him again. This time not parked, but walking. Near my office downtown, I was eating lunch at a food truck, waiting in line, when I saw his reflection in the glass of the building across the street. He wasn't looking at the food truck. He was looking at me. I turned around abruptly, pretended to be on the phone, and walked in the other direction. He didn't follow, but I've had enough. That weekend, I installed a second camera on our property, one with a wider lens and remote access. I also activated the dash cam in my car. I didn't tell Rachel. Monday, I got what I needed. The wide-angle camera caught sight of him again, the SUV parked across the street. This time, he stepped out for just a second to stretch his legs. He walked to the sidewalk, glanced toward the house, and pulled a small device out of his jacket, a phone, or maybe a recorder. He raised it and pointed it toward the window. My window. I downloaded the footage and watched it 3 times. He wasn't looking at the house. He was looking at me. The next morning, I mentioned it again. "Hey," I said, over breakfast, "remember that guy I told you about, the guy in the SUV?" Rachel didn't take her eyes off her egg. "What about him?" "He came back yesterday. Same guy, same car. He was filming our house." She blinked, slowly. "You mean like with the phone?" "Yeah. He's across the street. Across from our bedroom." She laughed, but this time there was tension underneath. "Honey, you're going down. Honestly, it's probably someone who works with Zillow or something. They film houses for listings all the time? Don't turn this into something. I didn't do anything. I said, I just told you something was wrong. She sighed, put down her fork, and finally looked me in the eye. You've been working from home for too long. You're overthinking things. Seriously, there's no mystery here. You're just stressed. I nodded slowly and smile, because now I know this isn't just me being paranoid. This isn't just a coincidence. She is dodging. It is difficult. Rachel had always been good at diffusing tension. She would wrap her words in a soothing tone and rational excuses. But this wasn't the voice of someone who was confused or worried. This was the voice of someone who was covering up. That night, after she went to bed early with a headache, I took out an old notebook and started writing. Not journaling, but taking notes. Patterns, scenes, times, license plates, voice notes. I made a list of everything I saw. Everything felt wrong. Not just the man across the street, but Rachel's sudden defensiveness, her new commute, her distance. She stopped wearing her wedding ring to work. She never leaves her phone unattended anymore. She locks her laptop screen even if she only goes into the kitchen for 10 seconds. I didn't want to admit it before, because admitting it would mean destroying what little peace I had left. But that night, something changed in me. I don't intend to argue. I don't intend to accuse. I don't intend to fight. I will find out. Because when the person sleeping next to you is blatantly lying, you can't ask her questions. You confront her with the evidence. It turns out, the man who was following me was being paid by the person sleeping in my bed. After that night, everything changed. Not for Rachel. She continued to act as if nothing had happened, mornings filled with forced smiles, evenings filled with fake yawns, and too tired to do anything excuses. But for me, something snapped. I wasn't just suspicious anymore. I was certain. She was hiding something. The man in the SUV wasn't random. He wasn't scouting the neighborhood or working for a real estate company. He was there for me. And the only person with a motive irony of sorts was my wife. So I got to work. The next week, I adjusted my routine. Left the house earlier, took different routes, sat in different coffee shops, watched for the SUV, watched for him. Thursday morning, around 8:20, I saw him again. This time, he was parked outside a bakery near my office. I walked past, turned into a convenience store, waited 5 minutes, then walked out and circled back. He is still there, but right now, he is on the phone. I couldn't hear what he said, but I could see the way he spoke serious, soft, direct, a professional. He was parked diagonally across the street, window half down, typing something into a notebook. I took a risk, crossing the street casually. As I passed behind him, I slipped a folded piece of paper under his windshield wiper, no name. Just a fake business card I'd mocked up the night before. E. Walker Consulting Private, Confidential, Secure Contact Ethan, Walker. Private a Proton Mail. I don't look back. 2 days passed. Nothing. Then, on Saturday morning, an email arrived. I believe you left this for me. If you are interested in private monitoring services, please let me know what you are looking for. Prices included? Confidentiality guaranteed. My hands are cold. There it is, my confirmation. The man who followed me was actually a private investigator. And now, he thought I was a new client. I scanned the attachment, standard hourly rates, service packages, sample invoices, but it was the second attachment that stopped me. Admission form, Mostly blank, except for the top part in bold client name Rachel Walker. I have read it 5 times. Then I stared at it. My wife hired a private investigator. Follow me. I don't know how long I sat there. 5 minutes? 15? Maybe. Just breathing. Watching the cursor blink on the screen like a little metronome counting down the days to the end of my marriage. Rachel? My Rachel, she didn't confront me. Didn't ask questions. Didn't doubt me to my face. She went behind my back. Paid a man to follow me. Recorded me. Studied my movements like I was a criminal. But why? What did she think she would find? Or more importantly, what was she afraid I would find first? Because no one hires a private investigator without a motive. No one spends thousands of dollars to spy on their spouse unless they're trying to build a case or cover up one themselves. I replied to the email. Thanks for your message. I'm not ready to move forward at this time. Also, you should check who you are emailing before sending customer information to the wrong person. But I'll keep your price in mind, in case I need to repay you. Thanks. Ethan, I didn't expect a response. I didn't get any. That evening, I printed out the email, the application form, and the price list. I folded them neatly into an envelope and stuffed it in my nightstand drawer. Not to confront. Not yet. This isn't about revenge. It's not even about anger. The problem is control. Because suddenly, I have something. That Sunday, Rachel made waffles for the first time in months. She said she wanted us to start the week off right. She kissed my cheek, smiled like a woman who believes her lie worked, and asked if I wanted to go hiking next weekend. Sure, I said. But in my mind, I don't think of mountains. I'm thinking about the camera. On Monday, I set up a new iCloud account and synced it with a disposable phone I bought with cash. I installed a motion-sensing camera under the dashboard of my car and another in my home office. Nothing intrusive, nothing illegal. Just enough to keep an eye on people coming and going. I even placed a discreet tile tracker in Rachel's car under the driver's seat. It's not paranoia anymore. It is preparation. The following Friday, Rachel told me she was having a retreat in Atlanta, corporate team building. No cell phones allowed, just workshops and good old-fashioned yoga. I nodded. Sounds great, I said. Then I kissed her goodbye. As soon as she left, I checked the tracker. She drove east, but not toward Atlanta. She is headed to Knoxville. I watched her path like a hawk. 3 hours later, the dot stopped moving. East Nashville. Quiet street. Residential area. No businesses nearby. I don't follow. I don't need to do that. I took a screenshot of the location. Time-stamped. Save it to a new folder labeled Evidence. That night, I cooked dinner for myself. I placed 2 plates of food as usual. I stared at the empty chair across from me. She thinks I don't know. I said out loud, to no one. But I did. I know she paid someone to follow me. I know she lied about her trip. I know the tracker hasn't moved in 22 hours. And I know I'm no longer someone who has something to hide. She did. And now, what I am following her, I'm not just looking for evidence. I'm looking to see what she'll become when I'm gone. Rachel is calm, strategic, the kind of person who can write a press release in 10 minutes and make it sound like the unquestioned truth. That's what makes her successful in marketing, and that's what makes her a good liar. After tracking her to East Nashville, I learned there was more to the mystery. The address didn't match any hotel chain. There were no business listings. It was a single-family home brick. 1 car in the driveway. A man's car. But I didn't confront her when she got home the next day. I didn't even ask her how she retired. I pretend to be stupid because I don't want to search for the story anymore. I am looking for evidence. Over the next week, I became quieter. I listened more. I noticed where she kept her purse, how she handled her phone, when she used the Bluetooth speaker in the kitchen. She no longer had her main iPhone plugged in. She used Spotify directly through a new device. That was the first clue. Rachel doesn't carry two phones, at least not in public. But now, there are moments small, odd ones when she reaches into her pocket as if searching for something, then hesitates. When she gets a notification, she glances down quickly and suddenly puts the phone face down. I started to notice her phone ringing when she got a text message. They are not always the same ringtone. Something is wrong. So I waited. One Saturday morning, she took a shower while getting ready to go out to lunch with a college friend. I offered to fill up her car with gas while she got ready, saying I'd be quick. She smiled, threw me the keys, and went upstairs. I drove around the corner, parked in an empty lot, and began searching. Nothing in the glove compartment, nothing under the seat. Then I slid my hand under the carpet in the center console and feel something. Thin, cold, rectangular. I slowly pulled it out. A cheap phone, the kind you buy with cash at Walmart. No case, no stickers, no lock screen. And just like that, the truth was in my hands. I opened the Messages app. There is only one thread. No name, just a number. But the message is clear. Missing you so much today. Still thinking about Wednesday night? Can't wait until next weekend. Does she still think you're coming to Atlanta? I left my sweater here. Here's your scent. I scroll up higher. Same thing. You're not like him. He's so serious. It's boring. You make me feel alive. I felt my stomach tighten. I kept reading. Each message was a punch. Not just because she had cheated, but because she talked about me like I didn't matter. Like I was just a footnote. A lifeless corpse of a man she had once tolerated. He has no idea. Honestly, sometimes I wish he would cheat so I could have an excuse. That sentence made me stop. Because I've never cheated. Not once. I've never even come close. But she wanted me to. Then she could be the victim. So she can feel she is right. I checked the call log. Lots of calls, all short. Usually during lunch breaks. A few calls in the evening when she was working late. I took a screenshot of everything. Then, as carefully as possible, I slid the disposable phone back into place and drove back into the driveway. She came downstairs in a floral blouse and jeans, her hair curled just right. She sprayed me with perfume, kissed my cheek, and said, "You're the best. I love you." I smiled. I love you too. But in my mind, I filed that moment under the final category. The last time I let her lie to my face. The last time I returned a kiss with a whisper I no longer believed. That night, I printed out the documents, saved them to my evidence folder. I even backed them up to the cloud under an encrypted account. I didn't want to take any chances. Then I started thinking differently. Calculate more, react less. I'm no longer the man who used to write her love letters on sticky notes and prepare her favorite snacks before flights. Now, I am the one who has to protect myself. I installed another camera inside the house this time, across from the main entrance. Nothing intrusive, but enough to see who came and went when I wasn't home. I review footage weekly, pay attention to Rachel's timing. One day, while working at the coffee shop, I noticed her phone ring. I checked it. I got a notification from the tracker under her chair. Her car was parked 2 blocks away from that house in East Nashville. Not just once, but 3 times. Same pattern. Visits at noon, never later than 2. She comes back beaming, sometimes with a takeout bag, saying she's getting us something, as if nothing happened. The irony is, if she hadn't hired someone to follow me, I would never have suspected her. She started this. She opened the door. I just passed by there. That weekend, I sat alone at the kitchen table, leafing through the evidence file. Text message printed, house image, screenshot of GPS log, disposable phone call history. Her name is on the private detective's client form. The big picture. I didn't cry. I didn't get angry. I didn't throw anything. I feel clear. I've loved Rachel for over a decade. We've built a life together, laughing at the airport, decorating Christmas trees, painting walls on rainy Sundays. But the woman I married, she's long gone. What remains is someone who played a role, someone who lied, someone who manipulated the story before anyone could ask any questions. But this time, I had a story. Not her. I closed the file, stood up, and turned off the kitchen light. Tomorrow, I will invite her to dinner. Just us another night at the dinner table. But this time, I won't eat anymore. I will serve. She walked into the kitchen as if it was just another normal night. But this time, I didn't cook dinner. I am serving the truth. I spent all day preparing. Not food, no marinades or roasted vegetables tonight. Just silence, and the sound of paper being folded, evidence being arranged, thousands of little betrayals lined up like soldiers waiting to go into battle. At 6:15, I set the table. 2 plates, 2 glasses. A bottle of wine we'd saved since our 7th anniversary sat in the middle, unopened. A small white envelope lay next to Rachel's fork, sealed. No markings. The room looked warm and inviting. Just what I wanted. She arrived at 6:43, late but not unusual. The sound of keys clinking, the sound of heels clicking. "Hey, baby," she said, tossing her hair back as she entered. "Smells like nothing. You okay?" I smiled. "Just feels like a quiet night." She nodded slowly, staring at the bottle. "You finally opened it." I shook my head. "Not yet. I think we'll open it together." She sat across from me. She looked relaxed. Too relaxed, like someone who had no idea the floor was about to disappear beneath her feet. "I think we can talk tonight," I said. Her smile stiffened. "Okay," about what I pointed to the envelope. "Why don't you open it first?" She blinked, then reached for it, her perfectly polished nails sliding under the hem of her shirt. Her eyes skimmed the first page, and then freeze. Disposable phone messages, printouts of her conversations with him. She turned to the next page photos, time-stamped diary, GPS coordinates, her car ahead, his house. Then there is the private detective contract. She held her breath. She looked up. I said nothing. I didn't move. I just waited. "Where have you been?" she began, her voice suddenly dry. "Found all that I finished." "You left the breadcrumbs. Rachel, I just followed them." She stood up abruptly, pushing her chair back with a loud rustle. "You went through my things." "You hired someone to go through," I whispered. "You paid a man to follow me, film me, watch me, while you were sneaking around with someone else." Her face contorted. Anger, guilt, then panic, all in a matter of seconds. "I didn't think you'd..." She paused, choosing her words. I didn't think you'd look. That's the problem, isn't it? I said. You're counting on me not looking. You're counting on me trusting you. She ran her hand through her hair. It wasn't supposed to go this far. So how far will it go? I asked. Until I find you there? His home. Until Emma asked where he was on another fake business trip. She was startled when she heard our daughter's name. I never intended to hurt anyone. I laughed. Not loudly, just enough to release years of pent-up doubt. You didn't mean to hurt anyone, but you lied every day. You paid someone to make me look like a villain. You want to catch me doing something. Right. She looked away. You needed an excuse. I continued. A reason to feel okay with what you did. You thought if you caught me first, you would win. Tears welled up in her eyes, but they didn't move me. I have seen enough shows. You don't understand, she began. I get it. I interrupted. You chose this. You built it. And now you stand in the rubble, wondering why it fell. She slowly sat down. The anger had gone from her face. Now there was only exhaustion. I'm lonely, she said. You're always working, always distant. I leaned forward. No, I said, calmly but firmly. I am consistent. I am present. I don't lie. I don't cheat. I don't put a stranger between us and call it a cure for boredom. She wiped her cheek. I don't want it to last. That doesn't make it go away. We sat in silence. The bottle of wine stood still, untouched. After what seemed like hours, I got up and went to the drawer. I took out a second envelope, this one thicker. I put it in front of her. She looked down, eyes wide. Divorce papers. I said, No. Ethan, wait, please. I'm not waiting anymore. I'll stop. I'll go to therapy. I've been there. I said, to therapy, to forgiveness, to denial. I've done all the work you never knew about. I'm sorry. I nodded. I believe you. But this is no longer a question of forgiveness. This is a question of freedom. I pushed the pen toward her. Sign when you're ready. Then I turned and left the room. Ethan, she whispered. I stopped. One hand on the doorframe. What about Emma? I looked back over my shoulder. I would never say anything bad about you to her, but I won't let her grow up thinking that this is how love should be. I walked out of the room. Behind me, I couldn't hear anything. Not the rustling of papers. Not the sound of her tears. There was only silence. The silence I have endured for years. Only now do I finally feel at peace. Sometimes the loudest goodbyes are the ones you don't say. It took Rachel 2 days to sign the divorce papers. She didn't cry when she handed them to me. She didn't beg. She didn't apologize again. She just put the envelope on the counter, next to the coffee maker I never liked, and said softly, It's done. And just like that, the life we built together was silently shattered. There was no final shouting match, no slamming doors, no one sleeping on the couch. It ended the way a candle goes out clinking. Silent. Smoky. I move out on Tuesday. I rented a furnished apartment on a quiet corner of Franklin. Nothing fancy. 2 bedrooms, big windows, peaceful. The kind of place that felt like a pause, not a new beginning. But not an end, either. Packing doesn't take long. Most of the house was Rachel's thing. The art, the food, even the wall colors, shades of gray and cream, too neutral to feel like home. I brought only what was mine: books, guitars, college photo albums, and whatever evidence I'd collected, not out of anger. Unclear. Emma didn't understand much at first. She was only 8. She asked if Daddy was going away for a while, like on a long business trip. I knelt down, took her little hands in mine, and told her something that was painful to say, but needed to be said. Sometimes, people who love each other can't be in the same house anymore, but that doesn't mean we stop loving you. She nodded, her eyes bright but full of trust. That night, she held me tighter than ever, and in that moment, I knew that I made the right choice. The first week in the new apartment was quiet, too quiet. I woke up and didn't smell her perfume on my pillow. I didn't hear her walking down the hallway in her high heels. The TV wasn't on low in the background. There were no candles burning out. There were no fake good nights or coldness disguised as exhaustion. There was only silence. But that silence did not suffocate me. It has healed. I started sleeping better. I started running again, something I hadn't done in over a year. I picked up my guitar after months of not paying attention to it, played old songs, wrote a few new ones. I even cooked real meals for one. Simple, warm, heartfelt. One evening, I stood in the kitchen stirring a pot of soup and noticed something strange. I am smiling, not a fake smile, a real one. It's been so long since I felt it that I hardly recognize its shape on my face anymore. Rachel texted a few times during those first few weeks. Nothing too serious. Mostly logistics, Emma's class schedule, paperwork, switching bank accounts. She kept it polite, professional, almost corporate. I'm fine with that. I don't want revenge. I don't want war. I just want peace. One morning, there was a text message from an unknown phone number. It's him, the man she met. I don't know if you know. I just want you to hear me out. I'm done with her. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the answer button. Then I turned off my phone and continued making breakfast. Some things aren't worth answering. In the following weeks, life became stable. I found rhythm in the new normal. Sharing custody meant weekends with Emma were filled with movie nights, puzzles, baking disasters ending in chaotic laughter. She didn't ask as many questions anymore. Kids have a way of adjusting faster than adults. They do not cling to what is past. They live in the present, and I'm trying to do the same. Rachel, to her credit, never tried to rekindle what we had. No grand apologies, no guilt-filled speeches, no pleas for a second chance. Maybe she realized that the damage done wasn't just the betrayal, it was the way she weaponized my trust, turned my silence into weakness. And I am no longer silent. A few months later, my attorney finalized the divorce. It was a clean break. I kept my retirement account. She kept the house. We agreed on joint custody, with Emma spending alternating weekends with me. No alimony. Nothing dramatic. Just a signature and a new file in a metal cabinet somewhere. I walked out of the courthouse, took a deep breath, and stood in the sunlight like someone who had just stepped out of a locked room. And this time, the door remained closed behind me. That evening, I sat on the balcony of my apartment, watching the sun set behind the hills. The sky was painted in shades of orange and indigo. I sipped my coffee, wrapped myself in the sweater Emma had picked out for me, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Silence. Not loneliness. Silence, and in that stillness comes understanding. Rachel doesn't ruin me. She exposed me. She showed me what I had overlooked, what I had endured, what I had allowed in the name of love, habit, duty. She showed me how strong I can be when I have nothing left to lose. And how calm can a man become when he finally makes his own choice. Not everyone who leaves is at fault, and not everyone who stays is deeply in love. Ethan's story reminds us that sometimes betrayal isn't just about the lies. It's about how someone manipulates the truth, making you the perpetrator and then the victim. But he didn't choose revenge. He chose the harder thing: silence, confrontation, and letting go with clarity. We can't control whether other people are honest or not, but we can control how we respond. And sometimes the bravest thing to do is not to hold on, but to let go, to start over with our dignity and self-respect intact. If this story makes you pause or touches on something you've been through, leave a comment below. We read them all, and sometimes sharing is healing. Don't forget to like and share the video with anyone who needs to hear this today. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. She didn't know I was recording every conversation, and now I have proof. A new twist, full of surprises, awaits you. See you again.